What if I told you that some of the world's most powerful empires, countries with legendary spies, brilliant diplomats, and entire armies, were once completely duped by kingdoms that never even existed? Imagine ambassadors dispatched, treaties signed, and fortunes exchanged with places that were nothing more than figments of a clever con artist's imagination. This is not science fiction or a prank gone too far. These are the strangest true stories in history. The fake kingdoms that fooled the world. Throughout history, borders have shifted, maps have changed, and new nations have appeared seemingly overnight. But what if some of those new lands, those proud-sounding monarchies and glittering principalities, were nothing but elaborate hoaxes? What drives someone to invent an entire country? And how did even the most sophisticated governments fall for it? Let's start with one of the most jaw-dropping tales, the Kingdom of Payet. It's 1820s London, and a dashing Scottish soldier named Gregor MacGregor arrives on the scene. He spins an irresistible story. He claims to be the Cacique of Payet, ruler of a lush, wealthy kingdom on the coast of Central America. MacGregor describes Payet as a land of gold, rivers teeming with fish, fertile soil, and a population eager for British investors and settlers. He prints money, appoints officials, and even drafts a Payet constitution. Newspapers eat it up. Soon, men in top hats are lining up to buy Payetian land and bonds, dreaming of tropical riches. Here's where it gets wild. MacGregor doesn't just talk. He charters ships and sends hundreds of hopeful settlers across the Atlantic. But when they arrive, they find nothing. No capital, no government, no welcoming crowds, just miles of remote jungle. The kingdom is a mirage. Many settlers die, some barely make it home. So, how did a single conman convince the entire British establishment to invest in a fantasy? Were they simply greedy? Did they want to believe in a new El Dorado? Or does it say something deeper about how empires, blinded by ambition, can be the easiest marks of all? But Payet is just the beginning. Let's rewind even further to the 16th century and the legendary Kingdom of Prester John. For centuries, European rulers were obsessed with tales of a mysterious Christian realm somewhere in Africa or Asia, ruled by the mythical Prester John. Letters supposedly written by him circulated across Europe, promising alliances and unimaginable wealth. Monarchs sent embassies and expeditions to find this hidden ally against the Muslim empires. But Prester John never existed. He was a medieval fever dream, a blend of wishful thinking and geographical confusion. Yet for hundreds of years, his imaginary kingdom shaped real-world policies, inspired crusades, and altered the course of European exploration. Isn't it astonishing how a phantom king left footprints all over real history? Now, let's jump to the 20th century for a tale so bizarre it sounds like a spy thriller. Enter the Empire of Sans Serif. In 1977, British newspaper readers woke up to a special report about this obscure island nation, supposedly located in the Indian Ocean. Sans Serif boasted a charming president, a rich history, and even complex ethnic divisions between the Upper Kes and Lower Kes populations. Maps, interviews, and photographs filled the pages. People wrote in, requesting tourist information and investment opportunities. But there was a twist. Sans Serif was a complete fabrication, a brilliant April Fool's prank created by the Guardian newspaper. Every detail, from the geography to the language, was a pun on topography. Yet thousands were fooled, and the legend of Sans Serif took on a life of its own. Even with satellites and global communications, the world was still vulnerable to an old-fashioned hoax. But what about frauds that weren't meant as jokes? What about hoaxes that changed lives, sparked wars, or bankrupted nations? Consider the case of the Kingdom of Araucania and Patagonia. In the mid-1800s, a French lawyer named Aurélie Antoine de Tonans traveled to South America and declared himself king of a vast territory inhabited by the indigenous Mapuche people. He issued proclamations, designed flags, and even minted coins. The Chilean and Argentine governments were baffled. Was he insane? A visionary? Or just another European opportunist? De Tonans' kingdom was never recognized, but his descendants still claim the throne today. The story became a rallying point for Mapuche resistance and a bizarre footnote in the history of colonialism. How does a made-up monarchy become a symbol for an entire people? Let's not forget the Republic of Independent Guyana. In 1886, a fake adventurer named Paul Marcoy convinced investors in Paris that he had discovered a hidden country in South America. He sold bonds, issued stamps, and printed maps. No one bothered to check if Guyana actually existed. Investors lost everything. What's more incredible? The gullibility of the financiers or the audacity of the hoaxers? These are just the headline acts. History is full of fly-by-night duchies, imaginary islands, and fraudulent principalities. There's the Kingdom of Redonda, a rocky islet in the Caribbean claimed by a succession of eccentric kings, mostly British authors and poets. Redonda's royal succession is a literary joke, but it's been taken so seriously that, for a time, publishers argued over who had the right to the title. And then there's the sovereign state of Forvik, a tiny Shetland island whose self-styled ruler, Stuart Hill, declared independence from the UK in 2008, issuing currency and passports. While Forvik is more performance art than empire, it echoes a long tradition. The urge to carve out a kingdom, even if it exists only in your imagination. So why do these fake kingdoms capture our imagination, and, more importantly, why do they work? Is it the promise of instant riches? The thrill of discovery? Or simply the seductive power of a good story? Let's dig deeper. First, consider the role of maps. In the age before Google Earth, a map was as much a work of fiction as fact. Cartographers filled blank spaces with dragons, monsters, and, sometimes, entire countries. The island of California, for example, appeared on maps for over a century, depicted as a paradise off the west coast of North America. Spanish explorers, traders, even kings believed in it. Expeditions were launched, but the island never existed. It was a cartographic myth that refused to die. Then there's the lure of lost kingdoms. Places like El Dorado, or the land of cocaine, where rivers run with gold and food falls from the sky. These weren't just fairy tales. They drove real expeditions, fueled colonial ambitions, and justified wars. When reality failed to deliver, dreams rushed in to fill the void. It's no wonder that a smooth-talking conman could sell shares in a non-existent paradise. But sometimes, the hoaxes are more than just get-rich-quick schemes. They reveal the blind spots and biases of entire societies. Take the Tartarian Empire conspiracy, a recent internet phenomenon based on misread old maps and wishful thinking. People claim there was a lost global civilization, erased from history by a sinister plot. It's not true, but it taps into the same longing for hidden knowledge, lost grandeur, and secret kingdoms that has haunted humanity for centuries. And let's not overlook the bureaucratic bungles that make these hoaxes possible. In the 19th century, European chancelleries were obsessed with protocol. A letter bearing the right seals and signatures could open any door. In the case of Piet, MacGregor forged official-looking documents, hired actors to play diplomats, and used the trappings of statehood to dazzle his marks. Once the machinery started rolling, it was almost impossible to stop. No one wanted to admit they'd been fooled. Even the mighty British Empire, with its networks of informants and colonial officials, was defenseless against a well-told lie. Why? Because the story fit what they wanted to believe. That the world was full of untapped wealth, waiting for a bold investor. The fake kingdoms succeeded because they exploited the hopes, fears, and prejudices of their time. But history isn't just about the people who were fooled. It's also about the consequences. The Piet disaster ruined hundreds, but it also triggered reforms in financial regulation and colonial policy. The search for Prester John reshaped the map of Africa and Asia, opening new routes and sparking new encounters. Even the joke of sans serif revealed how easily public opinion could be swayed by manufactured facts. In each case, the hoaxers forced the world to confront its own blind spots. There's also a darker side. Fake kingdoms have been used to justify real violence. In the 19th century, colonial powers sometimes invented friendly puppet states to mask their conquests. The Kingdom of Congo was manipulated by European powers for centuries, sometimes treated as a sovereign partner, sometimes erased from the map altogether. The line between diplomacy, delusion, and deception has always been perilously thin. So, do we still fall for fake kingdoms today? Absolutely. In our own age, micronations abound, tiny self-declared states, sometimes for protest, sometimes for profit, sometimes for sheer mischief. Think of the Principality of Sealand, an old sea fort off the British coast, whose princes have fought off pirates, sold passports, and claimed independence for over 50 years. Or the Republic of Molossia, a one-man nation in the Nevada desert, complete with its own currency, uniforms, and border posts. Most of these modern micronations are harmless fun, but some have sparked international incidents. In 2000, a group declared the Kingdom of Eninkio on a tiny Pacific atoll. They sold passports and titles of nobility online, convincing dozens of people they were now royalty. The real government of the Marshall Islands had to step in, warning that Eninkio was a scam. The internet has given a new generation of hoaxers the tools to create digital kingdoms, with websites, social media, and even deepfake, royal messages. Yet at the heart of every fake kingdom, ancient or modern, is a simple historical lesson. Power is a story. Nations, borders, and flags are real only because people believe in them. When that belief falters, or when someone tells a better story, the map can change overnight. The greatest hoaxes remind us that history is not just a record of what happened, but of what people believed could happen. This is the paradox at the heart of history. The more powerful the dream, the more dangerous the delusion. Piaget, Prester John, sans serif, they're cautionary tales, but also invitations to look closer at the stories we're told. If entire empires can be fooled by a well-crafted lie, what makes us think we're immune? So, the next time you see a border on a map, or hear a politician talk about a new era, remember the fake kingdoms that fooled the world. History isn't just written by the victors, but by the storytellers, the schemers, and sometimes, the pranksters. Maybe the real question isn't how these hoaxes succeeded, but why we're so desperate to believe in them. If you enjoyed unraveling these incredible tales of deception, ambition, and imagination, make sure to join our community of history sleuths here at History Owl. Hit that subscribe button, and let us know in the comments which hoax or lost kingdom you'd want to rule, real or imaginary. Because in history, sometimes the greatest stories are the ones that never happened at all.